The only snake in history capable of crushing the Brazilian monster Purussaurus. It seems impossible, doesn't it? A reptile that crushes the largest aquatic predator that has ever dominated the rivers of South America. But there is a fossil that proves exactly that, and you will see why. Imagine a river in South America millions of years ago. The water is murky, warm, full of life. Suddenly, a shadow moves. It's not fast. It doesn't have to be. It's huge, silent, mortal. We're talking about a snake so big, it would make a modern anaconda look like an earthworm. A creature with enough strength to compress a giant crocodile's skull like it was cardboard. Have you ever heard of Purussaurus? This Brazilian monster was the absolute terror of South American rivers. An alligator so large that its bite crushed prey bones the size of small cars. But this snake was different. And in a few minutes I'll show you the fossil find that completely changed what scientists thought about confrontations between prehistoric predators. Let's go back in time. We are about 60 million years ago, just after the extinction of the dinosaurs. The Earth is recovering. The temperatures are very high, much hotter than today. South America did not have the shape we know it now. Huge rivers cut through dense, humid tropical forests. It was a paradise for cold-blooded reptiles. And in this environment grew the largest predators that nature has produced since the dinosaurs. Purussaurus appears about 10 million years later in the Miocene. At the time, the Andes were still forming, and the Amazon rivers were gigantic systems that flooded huge areas. These environments created the perfect setting for aquatic megafauna, turtles the size of cars, fish bigger than humans, and crocodiles. Crocodiles like the world has never seen before. But before Purussaurus dominated, another creature had already made its mark, and this creature is why we are here. Let's talk about the snake first. Her name is Titanoboa cerrejonensis. Titan. Good. The name says it all. It was discovered in a coal mine in Colombia in the early 2000s. When paleontologists began to assemble the bones, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The vertebrae were gigantic bony cylinders. Each one weighed kilos. And when they calculated the animal's total length, the number was frightening. 15 meters long, maybe more. 1,200 pounds of pure muscle wrapped in scales. For you to understand, the largest anaconda ever measured in nature was about 8 meters. The Titanoboa was almost double that. Imagine a bus. Now imagine this bus alive, swimming, moving through the river, looking for prey. But the size is not the most impressive. Its strength. Constrictor snakes kill by suffocation. They wrap their body around their prey and squeeze. Each time the prey expires, the snake tightens its grip. The heart stops pumping. The brain stops receiving oxygen. Death comes in minutes. Now imagine this force multiplied by 10 for 20. The pressure that a Titanoboa could exert would be equivalent to several tons concentrated in a few points on the prey's body. Think of a tractor, a cold metal tractor wrapped around him, each muscle a hydraulic press compressing his ribs. This is how prey would feel. There is no escape, there is no fight, just the inevitable. And the jaw? Snakes have jaws that separate. They can swallow prey larger than their own heads. The Titanoboa could open its mouth at a 180-degree angle and swallow a 2-meter crocodile whole. No chewing, direct. Digestion would take weeks, but the job was done. Now let's talk about the other side of this story, the Purussaurus, the Brazilian monster. This animal lived a few million years after Titanoboa, but in the same type of environment. Warm, shallow rivers, full of life. Purussaurus was a caemanid, related to modern alligators. But calling him an alligator is an insult. He was a titan, 12 meters long. Some specimens may have reached 15, 8 tons of weight, skull measuring almost 2 meters, teeth like serrated knives the size of bananas, and the bite, Purussaurus's bite, is estimated to be over 10 tons of force. That's 3 times stronger than a modern great white shark. That's enough force to crush a rhino's skull. He was the absolute king of South American rivers. Everything that moved in the water was potential prey. Giant turtles? Crushed. Huge fish? Torn to pieces. Mammals that came to drink water? Dragged to the bottom. Even other crocodiles were attacked. Purussaurus had no rival, or had it? Here's the question that fascinates scientists. If these two creatures had lived at the same time, who would win? It's a hypothetical question, but not completely unrealistic. Both dominated the same types of ecosystems. Both were top predators, and both had strategies that, in theory, could neutralize the other. Let's start with the advantages of Purussaurus. Armor. Bone armor on the back and belly. Huge teeth. Devastating bite. Surprising agility for its size. It could rotate its body rapidly in the water and launch itself in a burst of speed to capture prey. If he managed to bite the snake, it was over. Those teeth would pierce scales and muscles. The jaw would crush the vertebrae. Game over. But here's the problem. The Titanoboa didn't fight like a crocodile fights. She didn't bite and let go. She curled up. And once it was rolled up, physics worked in its favor. Imagine the scenario. Purussaurus is resting in shallow water. The Titanoboa approaches slowly, submerged. She doesn't make a sound, does not create waves. When it's close enough, it attacks. It doesn't go to the head, go to the middle of the body. Roll it once, 2, 3. The crocodile tries to turn but cannot. He tries to bite, but the snake is already wrapped around his back. He tries to use his paws but can't reach. And then the pressure starts. Purussaurus's ribs begin to give way. Each exhale is followed by a tighter squeeze. The heart, compressed, begins to fail. The lungs cannot expand. Minutes. Just that. Minutes, and the king of rivers is dead. Not because of the bite, for the deadly embrace. And here's the detail that I'm going to tell you soon. But first, tell me something. If this has already grabbed you, leave a like now so I know you want these details. Because what comes next is the discovery that changed everything. In 2009, in Venezuela, paleontologists found something extraordinary. Fossils of a Titanoboa with unusual markings on the vertebrae. They weren't teeth marks. They were compression fractures, as if something very heavy had pressed against the snake's body. Near these fossils, remains of a large crocodilian. The aquatic reptile's vertebrae showed constriction marks, deep grooves where ribs have been compressed beyond the breaking point. Scientists were shocked. It wasn't just theory. There was physical evidence of deadly clashes between giant serpents and enormous crocodiles. And in some cases, the snake won. But in others, the crocodile managed to take the fatal bite before being crushed. It was a war of the titans, and it depended on who attacked first. So back to the original question, could the Titanoboa crush a Purussaurus? The answer is, under the right conditions, yes. If only she could manage the element of surprise. If only she could wrap her body around before being bitten. If Purussaurus was in shallow water or on land, where its mobility was limited. Under these conditions, biomechanics favor the snake. The constriction force, distributed throughout the prey's entire body, overcomes even the most powerful bite. But it wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't be guaranteed. Purussaurus was too heavy to be completely immobilized quickly. He would have time to react. What if those teeth found the snake? It would be a fight lasting a few minutes that would end with the death of one of the two. Maybe both. Let's talk about how scientists know all this. How can they look at some fossilized bones and deduce not just the size, but the behavior, strength, even hunting strategies of these animals? First, bones tell stories. A snake's vertebrae reveal how much muscle it had. Bone density indicates weight. The muscle insertion marks show how strong each movement was. With Titanoboa, paleontologists measured the vertebrae and compared them with proportions of modern snakes. They made mathematical models, computer simulations, and they arrived at numbers that seemed like fiction, but were science. With Purussaurus, the skull is key. The shape of the teeth, the size of the muscular cavities that held the jaw, all this makes it possible to calculate the bite force. They use comparisons with live crocodiles, bone stress measurements, even fluid mechanics analyses to understand how the animal swam. And then there are the bite marks, prey fossils with holes left by predators' teeth, broken bones that healed, showing that the animal survived the attack. Each find is a piece of a gigantic puzzle. But there's a problem with all this science. The media loves to distort. Films, sensational documentaries, everything exaggerates. Have you ever seen those videos with titles like "The Snake That Ate Dinosaurs"? Titanoboa has never seen a dinosaur. It lived millions of years after extinction, but that doesn't sell. Then they invent. Or those horror movies with giant snakes hunting humans in modern jungles. Ridiculous. There are no snakes of this size today, and if they did, humans wouldn't be on the menu. We are too small, too hot, too fast. Prehistoric predators were adapted for specific prey, big ones, slow, abundant. The fascination is understandable. We all have a primal fear of predators, snakes, crocodiles, sharks. They activate ancient parts of our brain, But turning that fear into scientific curiosity is much more rewarding, because the truth is more fascinating than any movie. Now let's compare it to modern animals so you can really understand the scale. A large green anaconda is about 5 meters long and weighs around 90 kilos. It can kill a capybara or even an average alligator. The Titanoboa was 3 times larger and more than 10 times heavier. If an anaconda can kill a 2-meter alligator, imagine what a Titanoboa could do to an 8-meter crocodile. As for strength, studies with anacondas and pythons show that these snakes exert around 6 kilograms of pressure per square centimeter. It seems little, but multiply this by the contact area, and then multiply it by the scale of the Titanoboa. We're talking tons of force, concentrated in rings around the prey's body. A modern saltwater crocodile, the largest living reptile, is about 6 meters long and weighs half a ton. Its bite reaches approximately 3 tons of force. Purussaurus was twice as large and more than 10 times as heavy. The bite force was proportionally greater. It's hard to even imagine. But back to the hypothetical confrontation. What would be the real probability of this happening? In nature, top predators avoid each other. Waste of energy, risk of injury. It's not worth it. But accidents happen. Territories overlap. Resources become scarce. And then, so nature decides who is stronger. With the Titanoboa and any large crocodilian of the time, these confrontations were likely to occur, not as a rule, but as an exception. And in each case, the result depended on specific factors: relative size, health, experience, surprise element, land. If you asked me to bet, I would say that in deep water, the snake has the advantage. She swims better, moves in 3 dimensions, can attack from any angle, but in shallow water or close to shore, where the crocodile can use the bottom to position itself and turn quickly, the advantage changes. There, that devastating bite becomes the ultimate weapon. But here's a question for you. Think carefully before responding. If you had to choose, if you were transported back in time and had to face one or the other, which would you choose? The Purussaurus, with that bone-crushing bite that maybe you could avoid if you were quick, or the Titanoboa, which doesn't bite to kill, but embraces, and once embraced, there is no escape. Choose one and tell me why in the comments. I want to know your reasoning. Now, if you're enjoying this content, if you're learning something new and want more videos like this, there's a way to help. You can become a member of the channel or contribute via Valo Demais with any amount you want. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps to produce more research, better videos, deeper content, and those who contribute also have behind-the-scenes access, exclusive posts, and priority for questions in future videos. It's a fair exchange. You support, I produce more. Just like that. Returning to the subject, there is another fascinating aspect of these creatures: the environment that created them. Why did these animals grow so much? The answer lies in the climate. Reptiles are ectotherms, cold-blooded. They depend on the environment to regulate their body temperature. In very hot climates, they can keep their metabolism active all the time. They don't need to hibernate. You can eat it all year round, and grow, and grow. During the Paleocene and Eocene, when Titanoboa lived, global temperatures were much higher. There were no polar ice caps. Tropical forests covered almost the entire surface of the Earth, and in this oven world, giant reptiles thrived. There were no mammals large enough to compete. There were no aerial predators large enough to threaten. It was the age of reptiles, 2nd edition. Purussaurus came later, when the climate was cooling a bit, but was still warm enough to allow giant crocodiles. And the Amazon rivers at the time were perfect, full of huge fish, turtles, semi-aquatic mammals, an infinite feast. But then things changed. The weather became colder. The Andes have finished forming, changing rainfall patterns. The great rivers shrank, and the giants began to disappear. Not for competition, not by predation, but because the world simply wasn't right for them anymore. Today, the largest aquatic predators in South America are black caimans, perhaps 6 meters long. Big ones, yes, but nothing compared to Purussaurus. And the biggest snake, the anaconda, maybe 30 feet at most. Impressive, but a miniature close to Titanoboa. This reminds us of something important. Species are not eternal. What dominates today may disappear tomorrow. What seems invincible today may be vulnerable to changes we cannot even imagine. And that's not sad. It's just nature doing what it's always done. Adapting, evolving, starting over. But the legacy remains. Each fossil is a window into a lost world, and each discovery teaches us something new about how life works, about the limits of what is possible, about what it really means to be the top predator. So, recap. The Titanoboa was a 15-meter-long snake weighing over 1,000 kilograms with a constriction force capable of crushing giant crocodiles. Purussaurus was a 40-foot, 8-ton caimanid with the most powerful bite of any reptile that ever lived. In a direct confrontation, both had lethal weapons, but under specific conditions, the snake could indeed crush the Brazilian monster. And we have fossil evidence that shows that confrontations like this really happened. If you've made it this far, thank you. Serious, this means you value quality content. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Leave a like. And comment by answering that question. Purussaurus or Titanoboa, which one would you choose to face and why? I want to see your creativity. And if you can contribute via Valeu Demai or become a member, you would be directly helping to create more content like this. Every penny comes back in the form of research, production, quality. You are part of this. Now, before you go, let me leave you with one thought. These creatures dominated the Earth for millions of years. They were perfect for their world, but the world has changed, and they disappeared. But we are here looking at their bones, learning, admiring. Maybe millions of years from now, other creatures will look at our fossils and think the same. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? What story do you want me to tell about your time here? Stay there thinking about it, and see you in the next video.